Welcome hunters one and all. Class is in session for another installment of Monster Hunter 101. This time it's the intermediate level. If you watched the previous installment, that video was directed at covering some of the basics, the fundamentals to get you started with monster hunting. This video, in turn, will cover things that aren't necessary per se, but instead useful to know to further your success. Just like in the basics video, let's start with pre-hunting tips and tricks, namely your inventory. A well-prepared pouch is just as valuable as the weapon on your back, and one of the quickest ways to accumulate items is from the provisions stockpile. Located in any base camp or the Grand Hub, you can speak with the provisions manager to sell or buy items. Some items, like trap tools, are much easier to get from here than anywhere else, so you will probably frequent these establishments throughout your time in the Forbidden Lands. However, pay attention to the shops prior to making your purchases. Sometimes you will see numerous NPCs standing around the stockpiles, and when speaking to the shopkeep, you will see this banner behind their title. These are indications that the shop has an active sale where all items are half off, allowing you to quite literally get two for the price of one. These sales are random, however, anytime a seasonal event is going on, the shop will remain on sale for the entire duration, so take advantage when you can. Also, note all the stockpiles are the same, so if one is having a sale, they all are. Once you have the items you want, you need to add them to your pouch for ease of use on a hunt. You can add and remove items from your pouch at any item box, inside your tent, or even the provision stockpiles themselves. Starting with a mostly blank inventory, we can see the fixed items that are always present in your pouch, which do not consume item slots. Each of these items have infinite uses, and each one has a small bag icon on the corner. If the bag is grayish-white, this means it will show up on your item bar. If the bag is red, this means the item will not show up on your item bar. That being said, if the bag is red, it does not remove the item from the pouch, only removing access to it from the item bar. You can still use items with the red bag icon via a Radial Menu option. By selecting items from your box, you can add them to your pouch, and after you do, it'll look a little something like this. The order you see the items as they are arranged here is how they will appear in your item bar, top to bottom, left to right. By rearranging the items, you can change their placement in the item bar for ease of use. For example, keeping your traps and tranq bombs close together makes for quicker captures. Did you know that you can also stack your items in your inventory? The general pouch setup I run looks like this. It's a little unruly, but after a little bit of stacking, it is much more manageable. Another interesting note with my inventory is I bring extra items to craft some consumables. For example, I have honey and potions to make more mega potions on the fly. In this way, I have 20 mega potions on me at all times. The same goes for max potions, dust of life, and flash pods. While I am not likely to use all these materials in one hunt, or even 10 hunts, I am prepared in the event I forget to restock, or if I am just way off my game. Since we can restock mid-hunt, this isn't as important as it once was, but in World there were some times where restocking wasn't an option. As we progress farther into Wilds' life cycle, we approach the possibility of this being the case for some endgame hunts, so preparation will be key. Another offshoot of this is the Radial Menu. If you have an item on your Radial Menu like flash pods, for example, but you run out of the item, and you have the crafting materials in your pouch, the same Radial option to use the item will gain this symbol, indicating if you try to use the item, it will instead craft it. If the item is a consumable like a mega potion, this will also trigger its use, so be careful. Two specific items in my pouch should be mentioned, the Powercharm and the Armorcharm. These items are obtained from completing the side quests for Rex and Cobb involving monsters in the Wounded Hollow toward the end of the story. These items are valuable as they give stat boosts to your attack and defense just by having them in your inventory. More so than many other items, you should always be carrying these in your item pouch for those buffs. While not present in Wilds yet, the Powercharm and Armorcharm both have had an upgrade in previous games, the Power Talon and the Armor Talon, which provide an even larger buff, and stack with the charms. Perhaps in the near future, we can expect to be able to upgrade these items, so plan for 4 of your 25 item slots being consumed by these stat boosting key items. While we may have focused on our item pouches, don't forget about your other resources, namely your Palico. Your feline companion is capable of more than just healing you when you get hurt. If you want an extra little boost to your hunts, outfit your cat compatriot with a status weapon like this butterfly wand. What it lacks in damage, it makes up for in its ability to cause paralysis. If you already use a paralysis weapon, perhaps consider the Nursilla sleep weapon. Having your cat use a status weapon while you yourself use an elemental or perhaps another status can open up a monster to further damage windows that otherwise may not be available. If you want, you can even double up, and both you and your Palico can use the same status and perhaps be able to activate additional status procs in a hunt because of it. Progressing out into the field, here are 3 tips to make your hunts a little easier. Number 1, you can fire your Slinger with your weapon drawn. First, be sure you have Slinger ammo equipped. Then, with your weapon drawn, by holding left trigger and then pressing in on the left stick, you can fire the Slinger ammo where you are aimed. This circumvents the need to sheath and unsheath, saving precious seconds while hunting. Number 2, you can equip your secondary mantle while unsheathed. With your weapon out, holding the left bumper, like how you would to access your radial menu, pressing the right trigger will toggle equipping or unequipping your mantle. This shortcut is exclusively for the mantle you have that is not the ghillie mantle, allowing you to skip having to scroll your item bar or having it take a radial menu slot. Number 3. If you use a Blade Master weapon, you can and should sharpen your weapon using the whetstone. But did you know if you choose to sharpen from the radial menu, you will do so without having to sheath your weapon? Normally, sharpening requires you put your weapon away just to pull it out to sharpen, just to then put it away again. Rather than go through all that, just save the whetstone as a radial menu item, and when you need to sharpen, select it from here to speed the process along. Normally, when you chase a monster from one area to another, this pursuit time offers a great window for sharpening. But should you find yourself in need of sharpening while hunting, this is the fastest way to do it. In the basics video, I talked briefly about wounds, but now at the intermediate level, I want to elaborate a little more. There are 2 kinds of wounds. Normal wounds, which are the standard variety, the red ones, and tempered wounds, which are blue and can only appear on tempered monsters. The tip I have for you today is this. Tempered wounds will guarantee a monster trip when popped, so long as the monster is 8-star difficulty or lower, and so long as they aren't in a special animation, like Laggy diving into the water, or Jintahad about to use his ultimate. Red wounds can accomplish the same, monster tripping, if enough are popped, or if they are in particularly delicate places, but if you are fighting a tempered monster and you see a blue wound, do your best to strategically pop it to make it as advantageous as possible. The last thing I want to discuss is the current endgame, and break down the purpose of the various levels of difficulty. The endgame monsters, meaning the apexes and the title update monsters, can be found at various difficulty levels, 7-star and below, 8-star, and 9-star. One of the reasons these monsters exist at varying levels of difficulty is due to the rewards they provide. If you want monster parts, look to the 7-star and lower monsters that are not tempered. These versions will be easier to fight and they are less resistant to wounds and part breaks. Investigations are preferable, but all monsters in Wilds exist as optional quests, so parts can always be collected from here. 8-star quests are more difficult, and as such the rewards reflect this. 8-star monsters are tempered, which means they are more resistant, and they can provide 2 items that no other tier of monsters can: Hunter Symbol 3s and the highest tier Ardian weapon pieces. Hunter Symbol 3s are required for upgrading some weapons to their final tier, or for upgrading some talismans to their final forms, while the Ardian pieces are required for the Ardian weapon system. 9-star missions are as tough as they come for now, and these missions are useful for collecting the RNG talismans recently introduced in patch 1.021. All that being said, these rewards are easiest to find at these tier levels, but not exclusive to them. Hunter Symbol 3s can be found in 9-star difficulty missions if it's a great hunt and the second monster is an 8-star. Monster parts are found on every monster, but with the tempereds having a higher resistance to breaking, it might be easier in the lower tiers. The talismans are exclusive to the 9-star monsters, so if you want these rewards you will have to look here, But the point is, if your goal is Ardean parts or monster parts and not the glowing stones, your time would be better spent elsewhere. And that concludes class for the day, hunters. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't or aren't. Consider supporting the channel on Patreon. And if you have any more tips or tricks that you think hunters should know, leave them in the comments. May your RNG be kind and the desire sensor be blind. Goodbye for now, but not for long.